This is a podcast about our lived experience, which unfortunately includes infant death and subsequent mental health struggles. Please take good care of yourself and only listen if this content feels safe for you right now. We'll still be here when you're ready.
Hi, I'm Judith.
And I'm Alina. We are internet friends turned real-life friends who both experienced the tragic loss of our sons to sudden infant death syndrome in winter of 2021.
In the year after Aiden died, my husband and I both became unemployed. My parents divorced, and we had to move 5 times for various reasons.
And as for me, just a few weeks before my son Quinn died, my then husband had come out to me as a transgender woman and were subsequently divorcing.
It's been a lot.
It's been a lot.
But as long as we're living, we will love our sons deeply and work to make sure that we live a life that makes them proud.
Welcome to As Long As I'm Living podcast.
We're so glad you're here.
We're live.
Hi.
I was just looking to see what the class schedule was. Okay, good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everyone.
Let me switch coffee mugs.
Oh, sorry. Yours.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning. I feel like we have a lot of explaining to do. I think this is why. I feel like we have a lot of explaining to do.
I agree.
We're
on a break.
We're on a break.
Not us.
Not us.
The podcast.
We're on a break, and why don't we start by saying why? Why are we on a break?
I think each of us needed a break for different reasons. I'll say mine first.
Okay.
As some of you probably know, I'm the one who does all of the editing of the podcast. And for the first time in like February-ish, I was feeling like every time I sat down to edit, I was like, I don't want to do this. Like, I just don't feel like it. And it never would have occurred to me to actually take a break from doing it, except that you also were feeling like you needed a break.
Yeah. I think that there was a lot going on that I felt like I couldn't talk about.
Yeah.
And so it just felt like
it's weird to do a podcast.
It was weird to do a
podcast
and talk about my life without being completely honest about what's been going on in my life. And I didn't feel like I could talk about it. So it felt like sometimes we'd be sitting down to record the podcast and I feel like I wasn't really there. I wasn't really engaged in the conversation because the huge things in my life were things that were private. And so I needed things in my life that were huge to calm down a little bit.
Yeah. And
to take up a little less brain space so I could focus on the conversations that we were having.
Right.
And I think it has, by the way.
Yeah.
I think it has. I think in the past few weeks I've really been able to like sit down and like ask for what I need a little more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so to give you guys like the background on the break, like we've also been, and I explained this in the episode where we started our break, it's been harder for us to find time to record because like I have this job that like is great. I got a promotion in January and it's great and I'm excited, but it's like a lot of work. And you have a child who's getting older and older.
It's not even that. I think it's not even that. I just think that my brain has been in another space because I'm dealing with things that are so all-consuming that are not really related necessarily to Aiden.
But even before that, we were having a hard time finding time to record. So we've been getting like further behind. Like what we like to do is have like 3 or 4 episodes ahead, and we'll record like our update episodes, like the ones that are about our lives, like in real time kind of, and release those. But like we usually have like topic episodes and interview episodes that are like recorded a month or 2 ahead of time, and then we release them. So we're usually like
a few weeks
out.
Not a month. And I think what we've been doing in this break is we've been recording a lot more of those interview episodes so that when we come back, we're going to be in a much better place and it'll be less pressing to you to do editing, and it'll be like less demanding. So I think we're trying to think really far ahead in this break and record, like 6 weeks out. Yeah. We are still recording. Yeah. We're just not editing and sharing just yet. So in terms of like the timeline of this break, what do you think? I think that we discussed May 1st.
Coming back May 1st.
We'll be back May 1st.
Yep.
And what are some of the things that we're going to be talking about May 1st?
Well, May 1st is the beginning of Mother's Day season. So our first question is to all of you, what content do you want to see from us, either on the podcast or on Instagram, for Mother's Day this year? Last year on Mother's Day, we did an episode where we interviewed our moms about what it's like to watch their daughters grieve, which I think was a really interesting episode. and a little bit of a different take on Mother's Day in the grieving parent world. But we already did that last year, so
yeah.
Now what do you want to see? What do you want us to do?
We tend to go in two different directions. One hand, we're like, okay, everyone's talking about Mother's Day. It's so overwhelming. We want to talk about something that's not Mother's Day at all and steer clear of that topic. On the other hand, it's such a difficult topic that we feel like we have to address it. So I guess the question to you guys is, do you want to talk about Mother's Day? Do you want to hear about Mother's Day? Or do you want to, like, anything but Mother's Day? Talk about literally anything. Oh, hi, Angelina. It's good to see you. Do you want to hear about Mother's Day? Or do you want to, like, steer clear, have a distraction, and talk about gardening? Not actually gardening, but you know what I mean. Something that's not Mother's Day. So that's, like, our first question.
Yeah.
Okay, so what else do we have going on? So what have we been recording? What are we working on here?
We have a couple of really good episodes
that
we recorded.
Really good interviews.
So one is an interview with someone you know personally who is a lost parent who is 12 years out. And that was a really interesting conversation about, because it is really different being 12 years out than being 2 years out or being 1 month out, as I know some of you are. So that was a really interesting conversation. Really? We also, because you know her in a work context, we also talked a lot about grieving in the workplace. So that was like a super interesting conversation. So that one will come in sometime in May. And then we also interviewed, I don't know if we want to, should we say who it is?
Yeah.
Her name's Jess, and she's from 5.post, at 5.post. You can find her on Instagram. And she makes greeting cards, like, for difficult occasions. I actually think that would be a really good episode for Mother's Day if we don't have anything else.
Well, what's interesting about her is that she is a widow, and she's the first widow we've ever had on the podcast. It was super exciting to talk about some, like, the similarities and the differences. And I think what I've decided is I prefer her method of death to mine. In the conclusion...
But you know what? She might be thinking the exact same thing. I think the grass is always greener.
The grass is always greener.
When we say her method of death.
I don't mean, like, actually my husband's dead. I mean, like, I don't mean that. I mean, her husband died of cancer, and she had, like...
More prolonged.
She had time to say goodbye. He helped her sort through all of his things. He was really involved in the grieving process, as opposed to us.
I'm not going to say that that's easy.
Not that that's easy, but we just, like, woke up and our world was exploding. So
I don't know that I prefer it.
Yeah?
I think it goes either way. Grass is always greener.
Grass is always greener.
Grass is always slightly less dead and brown.
Yeah, so we have that. And then today we're recording a really interesting episode.
Yeah.
Because Alina's getting married in July. Actually, the reason we're together is because we went wedding dress shopping. Shit.
We did a little bit of shopping.
Yeah.
It was fun.
It was fun. But we really went to go see the venue. That's why I came. Because I have committed myself to doing all the flowers for the wedding. Which was, hopefully it'll be great. But I had to come see the space to see, like, what the flowers look like and whatever.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, I'm getting married, which is very exciting. Very exciting.
Very exciting. So anyway, the point is... we're going to be recording an episode today about how to include Quinn in the wedding ceremony, and the whole entire wedding.
Right. So it's actually not even going to be how to. It's going to be us talking through what the fuck and how.
And how.
Am I going to do that?
And I think a lot of us are going through things like that. Like, Aiden died, and then my brother got married 2 months later. So we kind of had that conversation with my family, around, right in the early days of the death. And I think about looking forward. Like, my daughter's gonna have weddings, bat mitzvahs, whatever.
Yeah.
And, hopefully. And how are we gonna include it in those things? Is it gonna change?
Yeah.
In this case, it's your wedding, and this is your son. So I think that we need to make sure that we...
Yeah. Because he would have been very included in the day had he been alive.
Right. So that's something else we're working on.
Yeah.
And then another thing that we plan on talking about is pregnancy announcement. This is not an announcement. Neither of us are pregnant. Not pregnant. But we want to talk about pregnancy announcement because I just had one in my life recently. Not me, but someone else. And I think it's
anticipating a couple.
We're anticipating, and I think it doesn't matter if you have an alive child or not, or maybe it makes it a little easier, but it's still incredibly difficult. So those are some of the things that we have coming up. Anything else? I think that's everything that we've got kind of on our mind. What are you guys thinking? Like, how are you feeling in the break? I know that...
Do you want to look and see if anybody had any questions? Somebody did have some questions.
Some people had some questions. But I just wanted to make sure that people knew we didn't forget about them.
We did not forget about you.
We did not forget about you. Sweet. Okay, let's open up the question box.
The thing that I think is so cute is I put up a question box last night asking if anybody had questions. By the way, sorry for all the background noise. We are sitting, in case anybody's wondering where we are, this is like an office, like rentable office in my apartment building because my fiance, I was going to say boyfriend, my fiance is actually working at his job today. So silly. I don't know what that's like. I'm kidding, I work all the time, but I did take the morning off because Judith's here. So we're like in this like little rentable office space in the lobby of my apartment building, and there's somebody outside like cleaning. I feel like I was saying something else. Whatever.
Well, okay, so one of the questions that what you were saying is that we posted a question box and everybody.
Okay, we posted a question box and all the things, all of the messages, all the questions we got in the question box were so sweet. They were just like, just so happy to see you guys having fun. Like, oh, the smiles are so genuine. Like, so happy for you guys that you're together. It was so cute.
Sweet. Okay, so this one says, how did your relationship evolve the grief? Do you still call each other daily?
Judith calls me every day.
I do call you every day.
But that's not a grief thing.
First thing in the morning.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
We did have a middle of the night call recently, which was out of the norm.
Yes.
Currently.
I had a panic attack and I called Alina. That did happen.
But
we do talk every day.
But I wouldn't say we call to talk about grief things every day.
I agree. We talk every day about friend things, but not necessarily grief things. Sometimes we'll be like, I'm so sad or whatever.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
And occasionally be something like, oh, I just had a work meeting and somebody asked if, you know, how many kids do I have? And like, we'll do that. But like, we don't like cry on the phone as much anymore.
No. And Alina will sometimes block my calls. That never happened before. In my own defense, sometimes I just called to say hi, and if she has a life, she doesn't have to answer.
If I'm in a meeting, I won't answer. It used to be that if you called, I would answer,
no matter what. But now, if you have something going on, you don't. But that's okay, because 9 times out of 10, I'm just calling to say, like, can you believe I forgot it was trash day? Or I'm allergic to toilet paper.
That's one of the big updates of this break.
Big updates. I'm allergic to toilet paper. Okay. Do you still, okay.
What a life.
What is your plan for your time together? Okay, so
we did a little wedding dress browsing.
We browsed.
We went to the wedding venue.
We looked at flowers.
Yeah, we went to Trader Joe's
to look at flowers.
Yeah.
We kind of determined what like the tables are going to look like. We looked at like tablecloths.
Yeah. We also went to Trader Joe's and bought a bunch of snacks, and then we watched a documentary and ate snacks.
That documentary was really good.
Really good.
It came out of nowhere.
I know.
We watched the documentary, and today I leave today. So today. We're going to, we just spoke about maybe doing yoga.
Yeah, we might do a yoga class.
We're going to record an episode. Yeah. We're probably just, listen, this is the thing about Alina. She doesn't leave her house much. So the truth is, even though I might have like great ideas of things we could do today, I know we're probably just going to like eat lunch.
We were busy all day yesterday.
Yeah, we're
probably like go.
We'll probably just hang out and eat lunch and then go to the airport. That's the truth. Inspiring to see you having fun. How do you manage? What things make you feel like this?
I think the question is like, what makes you feel like you can have fun even in the grief?
I think for me,
being together,
the biggest thing is that Alina sees my grief.
Yeah.
And there's space for it. And so I have permission to have so much fun and like dance and whatever. Mm-hmm. Because I can also cry if I need to. And I can also just sit in silence and be sad.
Yeah.
And I think if I have a friend who lets me grieve in front of them, I can also feel so much joy. Yeah.
We had like so much fun yesterday. Oh, Brock wants to know what documentary we watched. It was on Netflix, and it was, I forget what it was called. Trial by Media, it's called. So like each episode is about a different court case and how the media impacted the verdict. So we watched 2 episodes.
Well, his name was Robert Scruci.
Yeah, that was his name. Richard Scruci. The CEO of Health something. So it was like episode 6, and then we watched the Rod Blagojevich one, episode 8. The other ones were like kind of murdery, which is like not as much a ride. But those were like white collar, so we like those. What was I saying?
You were saying like how can you?
Oh, we had such a fun day yesterday. Like we had so many good conversations, just like talking about like pregnancy symptoms that we had with the boys, and like when we found out we were pregnant with them, and like what our births were like, and like that's just like such normal mom stuff that you don't get to do
in everyday life.
Yeah. like, I don't get to talk about, like, my pregnancy with Quinn, you know, like, much. And that's, like, you know, 3/4 of the time I had with him. So it's nice to talk about that.
Yeah, and do you think that makes it so you can have more fun?
Yeah. Oh, my God, yeah.
Because you can talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, I do feel like Quinn and Aiden are just part of our conversations constantly. I also think that you especially feel like they're spending time together while we're spending time together. Yeah. So maybe another reason why we can have so much fun is we know they're having fun too. Yeah. And it's almost like, we want to do things together because that means they're doing things together. And you know, the other thing too, like we talked about yesterday, we were talking a lot about like my plan for IVF, because I don't know if you guys, most of you probably know this, but I found out that there's this gene that Quinn had that he inherited from me that could have contributed to his death, and so I would like to do IVF to eliminate that gene for the remainder of my pregnancies if it works out that way. So like they're developing a genetic probe right now, blah, 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 blah. We should probably do a whole episode about that. That's interesting. Anyway, we talked a lot yesterday about like the plans for that, like how would I feel about girl embryos versus boy embryos, like what would it feel like basically like in the context of having a dead kid, how is all of this going to feel? Which I feel like is a conversation only you know all the ins and outs of how it feels to have the dead kid. Yeah. So like I feel like we start from a level of understanding that I don't have with anybody else. Like I have to explain all the feelings first before I can launch into all the other stuff with somebody else. But anyway.
I also think that it's been time. Like our first visit together was definitely fun, but it was a lot more crying and lying on the floor.
Oh my God, so much crying. And probably like 70% crying.
70%. And I think that it's just time and friendship that, okay, now we can have fun together. And I imagine a world where in 5 years from now, it's like 90% of our time is talking about other things and 10% is talking about Aiden and Quinn. Maybe now it's 50-50. Yeah. So I think we can have fun together partly because we've been healing.
Yeah. I think that's very true.
We're not in day one.
Very true.
That was a great question. So thank you very much for asking. This next question, how are you both doing? How have the past weeks been for you? What is good and challenging? How have we been doing?
I feel like I've been doing really well recently.
I do too. You're really excited about the wedding?
I'm genuinely excited to get married again, which I think is, if you had told me 2 years ago that I would be just kind of excited about it and feeling good about it and not feeling super traumatized, like I think I wouldn't have believed you. But I do feel that way. I got engaged in February and we're getting married in July, and it's a little like, it's a fast timeline, but for me it's like, I know I want to marry him, so we're just gonna do it. And we lucked out and got a venue, and now I just gotta get a dress, and that's it. We booked a photographer. And yeah, we had fun browsing yesterday. Yeah. That was fun. Browsing dresses.
Bracha says I feel nervous as time goes on, like I'm banding my baby. Here's what I'll say, Bracha. I think it's physically impossible for you to forget your baby. I feel like it's literally physically impossible for you to abandon your baby. And I think, I know that it could be scary to think about that, but biologically you don't really have a choice. So that's something that's really, really reassuring to me. It's like my arm, you know, if you don't use your arm for 6 months, it doesn't mean you're going to forget you have an arm. Your arm is still there.
And I always think like, even if Quinn is not top of my mind every minute of the day, like my heart and soul and all the love is like still pouring out of me into the ether wherever he is. Like I think he feels the love coming from my heart no matter what my brain is thinking about.
And also, Bracha, I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation we had with Jamie, because she talks about what it's like 12 years later. She has 4 live children. Yeah. Her life looks very different than it did when she first lost her son. But I think that what you hear from her, and this is something she said to me, she was like, if anyone asks me like how many kids do you have, she's like, I give the answer that I have 4 kids at home. And she's like, but if they just scratch the surface just a little bit, if they ask one more question, they would find out that I had a son who passed away. They'd find out that I had 2 miscarriages. They'd find out that life has not been easy for me. And I feel like that's how it's going to be for us also. Like, things will smooth over, like maybe on obvious. It's not going to be as obvious and overt, but if you just scratch the surface, if you just go one question deeper, I think it's always going to be there.
She said it feels like less present when I don't talk or think.
I agree.
About him. It is.
It is.
True.
And it sucks.
It does suck.
Yeah, it's sad.
It is sad.
I agree.
So how are you doing? Oh yeah, I'm doing. Hang on, let's just finish my thought. I'm considering going down to every other week therapy as opposed to every week therapy. So that tells you that I think I'm doing okay. But I'm also terrified to do that because I'm like,
You can always go back.
I know, but we were talking yesterday. Like, it's scary to admit that I'm like, I'm like doing okay. You know?
Yeah.
Because then it's like I have further to fall. And also, like, for the record, like, I'm not doing great. I'm not, like, crushing it like that was before Quinn died. But just, like, compared to before, and even compared to, like, 6 or 8 months ago, like, I think I'm doing better. I just want to be super clear. My shirt says bad vibes only. It does not say good vibes only. I'm not a good vibes only person. This is a shirt I got from the Terrible Thanks for Asking podcast. This was my prize, my free shirt, because I was the biggest bummer.
You worked hard for that shirt.
I worked hard.
You worked hard. I think what has been challenging for you during this break? Nothing. You've been doing great.
I've been doing great. Well, work has been, I hate how stupid that work is, like.
Yeah.
But I got this big promotion, and so that has definitely been, like, interesting. Me trying to navigate being, like, by all accounts, from the outside, I'm super functional and doing a good job at work, but I know I would be doing a better job if it were the old me, and so that's a little challenging.
Dude, my son's sister in 5 weeks, not only just facing how it'll feel different with the different baby negotiating other moms. You guys don't understand how we have to talk a lot. We're so happy to see you, Gracie. Wait, Gracie. I actually just realized your name might not be Gracie.
Graciela.
Is her name Gracie or Graciela? Or is Gracie your daughter? I'm not sure.
And
in between.
Yeah, Carrie's in
my son's. Oh, she's in between.
Yeah, Carrie's in a.
Dude, my son's sister in 5 weeks. My son's. And only just facing how to feel with a different baby negotiating with them. Listen, Carrie, I'm going to tell you something right now. It's going to be bad.
And good.
And good. Bad and good. I'm not going to paint a pretty picture here. That hospital stay, you're going to be crying the entire time. The entire time. Bring a picture of your daughter. No, your son. Bring a picture of your son and put it in your hospital room so he's there with you. Mm-hmm. Tell everyone, every nurse, this is my second child. My son died. Make sure it's gonna be Angelina. Yeah, Angelina, you pay attention to this. It's gonna be that. Yeah, tell every nurse because otherwise they're gonna treat you in a different way, and you want to make sure that they are really clear. Yeah. About that the fact that you've been through labor and delivery before. And then another thing that I'll tell you, no one wants to talk about SIDS or infant death. Yeah, no one wants to. Apparently it's not a fun topic. I don't know. I've heard that before. But I personally could talk about it all day. Wait, it's Graciela, but my friends call me Gracie. Okay, awesome. Wait, back to Carrie. Yeah, it's going to be really bad. Let's go back to this. So I think that bringing a picture is really important, telling every single nurse, especially the ones that are during like the actual labor. You're going to want them to know that like you've done this before. This is not your first. I think part of that just it made me feel a little more seen in a time when I felt so vulnerable. And then going home, I mean, for me, I was not calm because of the circumstances of my son's death. It might be different. It's going to be probably different, a little different for you. But I think part of it is this feeling of like, you all of a sudden see everything that you lost with your son dying. Like everything. Like you just realize how many things you lost. It wasn't just their life. It was like the avocado. It was like their first step. It was like their first time pointing, the first laugh. Like it becomes in some ways much bigger because you have like a front row seat, and then it becomes also better because all of a sudden your arms are less empty, and also your brain is more occupied. And also for me, being pregnant was the worst possible thing in the entire world. So because I kept thinking the baby was going to die inside of me at any minute. So it was a little better that I was able to watch them. So at least if they died, I guess I'd see it.
Oh my goodness, so many comments.
We've gotten a lot of comments, so just one quick. No one could say that was just.
I just
that was
just
for you,
Carrie. Sometimes I think I'm doing better, then the pain hits me like a wave out of nowhere. Therapy helps for sure, though. My son was stillborn in November. I'm so sorry, Danny, that your son.
What was your son's?
Yeah, name? What was your son's name? And something I'll say is like, pain does not necessarily mean you're not doing better. Like, I really feel like that's true. I hear you that, like, you want to not be feeling the pain. And I have felt like I feel the pain less frequently with time. So I'll give you that piece of
I have also,
hope.
I remember when in the early days, that every time I'd have like a real breakdown, like a true, like complete disastrous day, I was a little bit better after. It's kind of like it's kind of like a regression. It's like one step back before you can go one step forward. Yeah. And I found for me sometimes having those complete breakdowns where all these things pent up in my body and they just need to get out. And then once I gave them the space and I really just gave myself, like, basically your body's shutting down and saying, like, you need to grieve. You need to pay attention to this. That's why you're in a disastrous place. So then you have that outburst of just intense grief. And then the next day I had a little more strength to keep going. So I kind of feel like it's one step back,
agree.
One step forward.
I completely agree.
Yeah, know that when those bad times happen, you're not back to square one. You're actually going to probably be a little bit better. Yeah, a little bit ahead.
I completely agree. Jaden.
I love that name.
We wish he was here. I mean to message you guys. Grief brain. Oh, we know grief brain.
Wait, hold on. Let me just tell you something about Jaden. I actually really love the name Jaden, and I've told my husband that I like the name Jay, and he always says to me, Jay is short for what? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, nothing, it's just Jay. And
but you can't name a child
absolutely bananas. But
you can't name a child Jaden. We have an Aiden. Oh, no wonder you like Jaden.
That's a good point.
20 and lost my first and only son the night before he would have been 3 months.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Gracie, what was your son's name?
So glad you've both able to take a break and enjoy each other, but missed your voice.
We missed your voices.
Same, like starting with a clean slate after the breakdown. Exactly. Guest to speak. Oh, okay. So yeah, if anybody wants to ever be a guest, send us a message because we do have like a little form that you can fill out. I'm gonna just be honest with you. We are so bad about looking at the results, but we are every once in a while.
This Friday, we're recording with a woman who experienced TFMR, and that came from
doing the form.
The form. Yeah. So. Yeah.
So that would be very interesting. So send us a message, Gracie, and we will send you the form so that you can put it in. Square 2. Yeah,
Angelina. Angelina, I know that I owe you a text message. I will see you.
Okay.
Soon.
Fun fact about Angelina, who's here. Apparently, Angelina and I met years ago. Apparently.
Isn't that crazy?
It's so crazy.
Angelina's my friend. She lives locally. So we're real friends in real life. I'm going back to work next week after losing my daughter, Ada, in labor 6 weeks ago. Any advice? Yeah, that's hard.
It's hard. So the first thing I'll say is we have 2 episodes about this. We released them in May of last year. So definitely go back and listen to those. But advice,
I would say
go easy on yourself.
Go easy on yourself. But if you have a friend in the office that you trust, tell your friend what you need and tell your friend to spread it around. Yeah. So say, like, I want people to acknowledge the loss, or I don't want people to acknowledge the loss. I want people to ask me how I'm doing, or I want people not to ask me how I'm doing. Tell her exactly what you need, or him, your friend, and have them spread the word. Yeah. And give them, if you can, explicit instructions, because they don't know what to do, but they will look, and their default is going to be pretend it didn't happen.
Yeah. So, like, as an example, I was happy to have people acknowledge it, but I did not want people to acknowledge it in group meetings where I then had to respond in a certain way in a group meeting. But like a personal email when I came back was very welcomed. So like that's one example of something that you might ask for.
Do you work from home?
Oh yeah, good question.
Because I would say that going to the office is really difficult for a number of reasons, because you have to get dressed in the morning. But you also have to like put on a fake happy face for hours a day. Yeah. Not just when you're in meetings. So,
if I can recommend, like, if you want to do, like, if you can swing, like, do halftime for a week or 2.
Just to ease back into it.
And I think, and the other thing I'll say is, like, everyone, I think, will understand. Like, I remember, like, feeling like I had to, like, do it all, but then every once in a while I'd just be like, I'm so tired. And everyone would be like, of course course you are. And then I'd be like, I'm gonna go lie down. Like, nobody wants to be you. Like, they're all fucking terrified, and they hate it, and they don't want to talk about it. So if you're like, I'm feeling really sad about, you know, my baby dying, like, they'd probably be like, oh my God, go take a nap. Like,
what I have learned is people follow your lead. Yeah. And so if I talk about it, first of all, I just have to say that I never went back to work. I basically told them that I'm going on leave, and then 5 months later I quit. So I was a horrible employee, and I hope they forgive me, but I actually don't care. And what I'll say is that now in my new job, I straight up talk about Aiden all the time.
Me too.
And I show them.
I don't talk about Aiden.
I talk about it really openly, really comfortably, and I think that other people kind of follow suit. It's one of the things that's so interesting to me is that, like, the coldest woman at my office, who just like seems the most distant, she told me I was pregnant with my daughter at the time, and every time I was in a client meeting, she'd be like, oh, and Judith is going on maternity leave. And then people would be like, oh, is this your first? And she said to me, she's like, one day she called me out of the blue, and she's like, Judith, I just want to apologize for all the times that I tell people you're pregnant, because I realize it puts you in a really difficult position. And then she told me she had a stillbirth at 20 weeks. And this whole story came out about her loss. And so I think women especially, have their own stories of loss. And
that they want to share, but don't have a way to share.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, if you talk about yours, I think you'll kind of like get.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll say about this is, like, I try to think about, if he were alive, would I be talking about him in this context? And if the answer is yes, that's when I talk about him. So, like, if I'm introducing myself to a new group of people, everyone else talking about their kids, I'll say, and this is my son Quinn, and I'll point to his picture because I have his picture in the background of my Zooms. And depending on the context, I'll say he died, but, you know, he would be too. But yeah, people kind of just follow your lead. But I will say, like, we're a little bit further out. It was really hard in the beginning, and just go easy on yourself.
His name is Zion.
Oh, that's great. In the office, opt out of, great advice from the Sad Dads Club. Which sad dad is this, Rob? Opt out of all department-wide pregnancy announcements if those are prevalent in your professional sphere. They were in mine. So true.
Is so true.
This is actually, that's a great point. I opted out. We have like a office, like, fun, random, general channel on our Teams, and it's all people's grandchildren, alive grandbabies, and alive children. And I just was like, nope. No thanks. Yeah. Like, and I just left it.
I think that's great. No, I think that's such a
I'm
good
still
point.
in the pet channel.
You know, my husband, he started a new job right after Aiden was born, and there was another person, they sent out a birth announcement, and then this guy reached out to him from my team, was like, I have an Aiden, and they were the same age. Oh. I know. But then our Aiden died, and then my husband got let go, and his last meeting was with IT, with the other guy with his
Aiden dad.
And
speaking of Aidens who are the same age, I'm just remembering when you got that sign from Aiden when you met that dog named Aiden, who was 7 months old when Aiden would have been 7 months old. So cute. Sorry, that was random. Work from home for the first few weeks. Okay, great that you're working from home for the first few weeks. And then when you go back into the office, can I still recommend you maybe plan to like, leave in the afternoons or something?
Sure enough,
I would definitely talk to those people and let them know, like,
exactly what
you need.
That is really hard. Sharing an office with two people, just like the constant noise in the background, the overwhelming, just we don't know what they're going to talk about. They might trigger you at any moment. That's really hard. I wonder, is it possible for you to work in a closet?
Work from your car?
Work from your car? No, that was bad advice. That's not helpful at all.
It's Rob. I thought it was Rob.
Hello, Rob. Hi, Allie is my friend from work. Allie, here's a question for you. Someone was just talking about going back to work, and I said I never went back to work. I just quit. But Allie, Allie is my coworker from my last job. Allie, I mean, like, you were there when people were like, when Aiden died, like, what do you think people wanted or needed? Did everyone understand that I just disappeared? Or, like, was it weird that I didn't come back? Did people know what to say and not to know what to say? Like, yeah. I don't know, because someone was asking about going back to work, and I wasn't at the office. I don't know what the conversations were like. But you do.
Gracie says, I almost never tell new people he's dead.
Yeah, so awkward, and the pity is exhausting. And then end up playing along and answering that he's still alive, and I feel awkward. Oh my God, I've done that before.
I've done this too.
I've done that before.
The place I most frequently do that is like
Trader Joe's.
that is like the dentist or like somewhere where it really doesn't matter. And I totally agree with you. It feels so good to just be like, yeah, he's 2. But of course, then I'm always worried they're going to be like, can I see a picture? And I'm going to have to show them a picture of when he's 3 months old.
Yeah, that happens at Trader Joe's all the time. They're always freaking asking questions.
See, that does not happen to me at Trader Joe's because I do not engage in conversation. Judith talks to every single person everywhere. Like, Allie says, I think for the most part, people completely understood you not coming back. Which, of course.
Yeah. So there you go. If you decide not to come back, people will understand.
Yeah.
Allie was,
I still feel like
my life saver.
I have like, obviously I'm not still postpartum. This is not postpartum hair regrowth, but I feel like this is like post-grief hair regrowth.
Yeah, it's coming back.
Right?
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Allie, I'm just so happy to see you, and I can't wait to see you in October. That's all I want to say.
Was there anything else we wanted to chat about?
But it's kind of nice to do live again. Yeah, I agree. Oh, wait, sorry. We were answering questions. I got distracted.
I don't think there was anything else.
There might... Hold on. How are you both doing? How I've been... Yeah, it's good to see your faces. Oh, you guys are so sweet. What's your plan for your time together? We answered that. I think that's everything. We will be back May 1st.
May 1st.
Oh, Julia. We'll be back May 1st, and we'll see you then.
Yeah.
Bye.
Okay, bye. Good chat, guys. That was really fun.
To all of our wonderful new friends, we want to hear from you. Email us at aslongasimlivingpodcast@gmail.com and follow us on Instagram at aslongasimlivingpodcast. We'll get back to you as soon as our grieving brains allow. Yay!